My apologies. We're gonna just wait one more minute. I'm sorry, this is not the most terribly interesting thing. I really do need to make my opening screen. I'm a bit disheveled and I will explain why. Just 20 more seconds. Not Mike Mochelli, it's your favorite duo, Olive, and today we're going to be reading some miscellaneous Confucian texts. These were buried texts and includes the Zigao. I do have to apologize, we were supposed to be reading the rest of the Analects of the Lun Yu today. However, I lost my place in the Analects. I didn't save the video where I read it out, so I do not know where we're up to. In addition, it is very hot today, which means it's not very good to stream. It just stormed, and I had the dogs with me, so they were making a lot of noise, and I couldn't stream until a bit later. So I decided we'll just read this smaller group of texts. I hope that's all okay with you. Today we're going to be reading a bunch of berry texts. Today we're going to start with the Way of Tang Yao and Yu Shun, or two legendary sage kings. I'm just making sure I have the correct translation. Just making sure. The way of Tang Yao and Yu Shun was to abdicate the rule and not monopolize its benefits. The kingship of Yao and Shun benefited everyone under heaven, yet it did not benefit them. To abdicate and not monopolize is the fullest expression of sagehood. To benefit everyone under heaven and not to benefit oneself is the zenith of humaneness. In ancient times, men of worth, humaneness, and sageliness behaved in this manner. To be destitute and yet not be resentful, to have little yet not benefit oneself, this is the epitome of humaneness. If one always corrects oneself, and only then corrects one's contemporaries, the way of the sage is complete. Thus, in the era of Tang Yao and Yu Shun, those who practiced sagely government were able to abdicate all under heaven. This is the second part. In ancient times, Yao giving the rule to Shun was because he heard that Shun was filial and knew he could nurture all elders under heaven. He heard that Shun was for eternal and knew that he could serve all the elders under heaven. He heard that Shun was kind to his brother Xian, and he knew that he could act as lord of the people. Thus, as the son of Gu Sao, he was greatly filial. When he became Yao's minister, he was greatly loyal. Yao abdicated all under heaven and bestowed it on Shun. He faced south, was king of all under heaven, and was very regal. So Yao abdicating the Shun was like this. This is the third part. In ancient times, a sage was capped at 20, had a family at 30, ruled all under heaven at 50, and at 70 passed on the government. When his four limbs were gnawed and his eyes and ears faded, he abdicated all under heaven and bestowed it upon a worthy, retiring to nurture his life. From this we know the sages did not benefit themselves. The record of Yu Shun says, If the sun and moon do not rise, the myriad of living things will be all in darkness. If the sage is not in authority, all under heaven will inevitably deteriorate. When order is at its highest, the unworthy are cared for. When disorder is at its zenith, men of worth are destroyed. The humane, because of this, come forward. Chapter 5. Sages serve heaven above and teach the people deference. Serve earth below and teach the people about caring for kin. Serve the mountains and rivers according to the seasons, and teach the people with reverence. Serve the ancestral altars of their kin and teach the people about filial piety. Within the hall of great learning, the Son of Heaven treats his kin according to their seniority and teaches the people to be fraternal. As for the former sages and the later sages, he models himself on the former and follows the practice of the latter, and teaches the people the way of great compliance. Chapter 6. The practice of Yao and Shun was to love the king and honor their worthies. They loved their kin, so they were filial. They honored their worthies, so they abdicated. When filial is graduated according to the degree of closeness, one loves everyone under heaven. When abdication is practiced, there are no neglected men of worth in the era. Filial piety is the peak of humaneness. Abdication is the acme of rightness. That the 6 fiacs flourished in ancient times was all because of this following this. If one loves one kin and neglects men of worth, one is humane but not yet right. If one respects worthies and neglects kin, one is right but not yet humane. In ancient times, Yu Shun sincerely served his father Gu Sao. He was diligent in his filial piety. Loyally he served Di Yao and disciplined his ministers. As for loving his kin and honoring his worthies, Yu Shun was such a one. Chapter 7. Xia Yu. Yu bringing the waters under control, Yi bringing fire under control, and Hou Ji bringing the earth under control, was sufficient for the people to sustain life. I'm pretty sure this is the founder of the Shao, Shang, and Zhao dynasties. Oh, sorry, Xia, Shang, and Zhao dynasties, because Hou Ji is the founder of, I think, the Zhao dynasty, Yi is the founder of the Shang, and Yu is the founder of the Xia. Bo Yi preserving the rites and Kui preserving the music served to instruct the people. Gao Yao used the 5 punishments internally and applied military arms abroad. The punishments were light and the laws enlightened. Yu Shun used majestic awe. Xia Yu used halberds, and they corrected the unsubmissive, loving them and yet correcting them. This was the way of Yu Shun and Xiao Yu. If one abdicates the rule and does not monopolize the benefits, right principles will everywhere arise. In famine years, people will not misbehave. If someone rules the people yet is not arrogant, when he finally becomes king over all under heaven, the people will not doubt him. If someone does not take the common people, lightly, when he is an inferior status, when he possesses all under heaven, he will not feel it as a burden. If one possesses all under heaven, one cannot augment it. If one loses all under heaven, he cannot detract from it. Chapter 8. The zenith of greatness, the zenith of greatest humaneness is to benefit all under heaven and not direct benefit for oneself. Sorry, my dog walked back then. What is called abdication refers to a ruler of superior virtue bestowing the rule upon a worthy. If he is one of superior virtue, then he will rule the whole world, and the air will be enlightened. If he bestows rule upon a worthy, then the people will be affected by teaching and transformed by the way. As for one who did not abdicate and was still able to transform the people, there has never been such a one since human life began. The superior ruler harmonizes with the vital essence of skin and flesh, blood and vital energy, and nurtures the correct alignment of human nature and the natural order. According with the celestial order, he does not cause it to produce inauspicious portents. Nurturing life, he does not harm it, because he knows the natural order, all under heaven is in order. Chapter 9. In ancient times, Yao, being born a son of heaven, possessed all under heaven. By being sagely, one encounters the celestial order. By being humane, one meets with the appropriate time. Though he has not yet encountered the celestial order, when the most great moment arrives, the gods and ghosts all but obey, and the sky and the earth assist him. If he takes ease in humaneness, the sage can be given the throne. As for the appropriate time, it cannot be made to arrive. In ancient time, chapter 10. In ancient time, when Shun dwelled in a thatched hut, he was not resentful. When he himself became son of heaven, he was not arrogant. That he dwelled inside a thatched hut, and was not resentful because he knew the celestial order. That he knew himself became son of heaven, and yet was not arrogant, is because he did not give up himself to pleasure. To prosper by being sought out by a great man is magnificent. As for those of the present day who emulate virtue, they are not yet thus. And that was the way of Tang Yu and Yu Shun. One minute while we get on with the next text. This is the Zigao. This begins with chapter 1. Zigao asked Confucius, when the three kings arose, were they all sons of humans, whose fathers were humble and not worthy of being named? Or were they truly sons of heaven? Just as a note, this part of the text is a bit broken, so that you ask about this is fine indeed. It's been a long time since anyone, the text stops. And we continue. Yu's mother was a lady of the Yaoshun lineage. She sowed a Job's tear plant and picked the seeds. Having been pregnant for 3 years, when a cut was made on her back, she gave birth. Able to speak when born, that was Yu. Shei's mother was a woman of the Yorong lineage. She strode atop the sun tower. A swallow holding an egg in its beak placed it in front of her. She took it and swallowed it. Having been pregnant for 3 years, when a cut was made in her breast, she gave birth. When he was born, he called out metal. That was Ji. Hao Ji's mother was a woman of the Yotai lineage. She wandered within the dark marshes in winter. She saw thistles growing and picked them for an offering. Then saw a human footprint and treading on it. Offered a prayer. Dee's footstep, it shall. And then the text got off. That was Hao Ji's mother. When the three kings arose, it was like this. And 1 second, I'm searching for the next part. Okay, here we go. This is the second chapter. Shun, the son of the music master. Zigao said, that being so, then, of the three kings, which one, it breaks off, indeed recalls the way of the former kings? If they did not meet a perspicacious king, then did they likewise not accomplish great service? Confucius said, Shun may be described as a commoner who received the mandate. Shun was the son of a man. It breaks off. He was the son of the music master Goi So of the lineage Yo Yu. This was also broken off. Here's chapter 3. Zigao said, why was he able to become Fiak? Confucius said, formerly they did not pass the rule hereditarily. They good gave the rule to another good person. Therefore they were able to bring order to all under heaven, and they make the myriad lands peaceful. Regardless of whether they were great or small, rich or poor, they ensure that all the good having obtained altars of grain, and the common people reverently watched over them. They are sure that Shun's virtue was that of a worthy, and therefore he ceded the throne to him. Chapter 4. Zigao said, when Yao obtained Shun, was it that Shun's virtue was truly good? It was broken off a bit. Or was it that Yi Yao's virtue was so very brilliant? Confucius said they were equal when Shun was planting fields in a barren wasteland. It then breaks off. Chapter 5. Zigao said, the opening is broken. The ordinary people of the barren wasteland. Confucius said, opening is also broken. I have heard that when Shun was young, he was diligent in his studies and served his parents. A break. all the 5 graphs are not translated. Unfortunate. When Yao selected Shun, he accompanied him into his thatched hut and discussed the rites with him, and he was pleased with broken and harmonious. Thus Shun's virtue was truly that of a worthy king. Having followed him into the fields, Yao had rule all under heaven and sky, found him praiseworthy. Here's chapter 6. Zigao said, if Shun lived in the present generation, then what would happen? Confucius said, with 14 glyphs not translated or damaged, the 3 sons of heaven would serve him. And that's the end. So that's just a basic confusion. But Shun's basically one of the most virtuous of the Sage Kings, and he's saying that even if all the other 3 founding generation kings, or the 3 kings, who aren't actually the 3 kings, because the 3 kings is a different doctrine, were around, despite their divine origins, they would serve Shun because he was very virtuous. And that was the Zigao. Here's the Rongcheng Shi. All the period of perfect harmony. When Rongcheng Shi, broken part, Shun, Hui Shu Shi, Chao Ji Shi, Cheng Ji Shi, Xuan Yuan Shi, Shengong Shi, Wei Yi Shi, and Lu Bi Shi had rule over all under heaven. They did not bestow it on their sons, but all of them bestowed it on men of worth. Their virtues still be pure. Those above love those below, unifying their wills, putting to rest their arms and awarding office to the able. Hence the deaf and mute carried candles, the blind played drums and stringed instruments, the lame guarded gates, the dwarf made arrows, the gigantic thatched roofs, those who were stooped levelled mounds, those with goiters boiled salt, and the anxious fished in marshes. The disabled and rejected were not discarded. Whoever was left in obscurity, the rulers taught and instructed. They gave them drink and food. They employed the 100 officials in appropriate tasks, feasted them monthly. Thus, at the time, there were no, it breaks off. That was chapter 1. Chapter 2, Yu Yu Tong. When opening is broken with 35 glyphs down. 18 glyphs, actually. When Shi possessed all under heaven, he cared for the people broadly, and garnered taxes sparsely. He personally labored for the people in administering the government. He brought order and yet did not give rewards, appointed officials but did not give hereditary emoluments. Without exalting the populace, he brought order to chaos, and did not tire. Therefore, when a worthy, it breaks off, and then he says fidel. We don't know what that is. He made first 3 tones seeking guide for sounds of the musical scale. Oh, this must be about Kui. He made 3 tones for the east, 3 tones for the west, 3 tones for the south, and 3 tones for the north, using the sounds of crossing brooks and streams, and fording wide rivers of mountains high up, and dense forests deep in. Then he enacted administrative measures. Thereupon he began awarding hereditary posts and giving salaries, and succeeded the rule to Yo Yu Tong. Yo Yu Tong said, when virtuous power is rapidly diminishing, it breaks off again. Here's the third one, the rule of Yao. Formerly Yao lived between Danfu and Yaolong. Yao followed the precedents in what he bestowed, and offered tribute according to the season. He did not exalt the people, and yet they were hard-working. He did not mutilate or kill, yet there were no robbers or thieves. He was lenient, yet the people were submissive. Thereupon, from within a territory with range of only 100 li, he led the people in the world. They came to make obeisance and set him on the throne, regarding him as the son of heaven. Within a range of 1,000 li, officials holding writing boards took their proper positions. The people in the 4 directions became harmonious and cherished him. By cherishing him, he caused all the people under heaven to come to him. Thus Yao regarded the men of worthy highly, and with his feet upon the ground and the sky over his head, he looked for someone principled and trustworthy. His kindness filled with the space between the sky and the earth. His embrace or within the four seas. If he succeeded in accomplishing his task, he could establish the worthy as the sun in heaven. Yao then gave instructions for this purpose, saying, "After I have gone inside, I will secretly look out in order to find a man of worth whom I may succeed the rule." Yao wished to cede the rule of all under heaven to a man of worth, but of the men of worth in the world, not one was fit to receive it. The ruler of the myriad lands all wished to cede their lands to a man of worth, but the men of worth in their lands, not one fit to receive them. The heads of the noble estates all wished to cede their estates to a man of worth, but of the men of worth on their estates, not one was fit to receive them. Thereupon everyone under heaven saw Yao as being good in promoting men of worth, and in the end they set him on the throne. Formerly Shun ploughed at Li Hill, made pottery on the banks of the Yellow River, and fished in the Lei Marsh. By filially caring for his parents, he made his king good, and then his good influence reached the sons of the land. Yao heard about it and praised his conduct. Yao, having prepared 15 chariots, went out to look for him 3 times in the fields. So Shun, having first put down the sickle, the hoe, and the spade he was carrying, visited Yao, and took his seat. Yao faced south, and Shun faced north. Shun thereupon began to talk to Yao about the way of heaven and earth and the people. When he spoke to him about governing, he advocated frugality in carrying it out. When he spoke to him about music, he advocated harmony in order to prolong its beneficial effects. When he spoke to him about rights, he advocated generosity and not being a sedative. Then Yao was pleased. Yao, the text breaks off. When Yao became old and his sight not clear, and hearing was not acute, Yao had 9 sons. He did not take one of his sons as heir. Having observed that Shun was worthy, he wanted to take him as successor. Shun then succeeded rule over all under heaven to a worthy 5 times. Only when he did not succeed, he dared to accept the rule. Here is chapter 4, called the Rule of Shun. Shun administered the government for 3 years. The mountains and the hills did not have passes, and the rivers and the streams did not drain out. So he established Yu as the master of works. When Yu had received his command, he dressed in cloven and bamboo leaves and a bamboo hat. Text breaks off. And this is the opening. The opening is lost. His face chapped, his feet filthy, and hair no longer grew on his limbs. The streams flowed without banks, and the waters ran together. Yu personally took a scoop and plowshare. He banked up the Mingdu, that is the Mingzhu, marsh, and cut beds for the 9 rivers. Hence Jia province and Zhu province could begin to inhabit. Yu cut a riverbed to link the Huai and Yi, so that they could flow east to the sea. Hence Jing province and Zhu province could begin to be inhabited. Yu then cut beds to link the Lao and Yi rivers, so they could flow east to the sea. Hence Luo province could begin to be lakes, so they could flow east to their sea. Hence Jing province and Yang province could begin to be inhabited. Yu then cut beds linking the Yi and Lo, together with the Chan and Jian, so they could flow east to the Yellow River. Hence Yu province could begin to be inhabited. Yu then cut beds linking the Jing and Wei, so they could flow north to the Yellow River. Hence Zhu province could begin to be inhabited. Yu then made 500 valleys running south from the Han, and 500 valleys running north from the Han. When all the people under the sky settled, then he prepared a feast. He appointed Hao Ji to be the supervisor of the fields. When Hao Ji received his commission, he ate the wilds and slept in the wilds. He rotated the crops and changed the soil, and in 5 years, the ears of grain were full. The people had surplus grain, and no one who sought food did not get it. When the people were satiated, they became aggressive. Then Shun established Gao Yao as the legal officer. When Gao Yao had received the mandate, he distinguished between the vapors that were yin and those that were yang, and listened to the people's plaints. After 3 years, among all the people in the world, there were none with plaints to lay, and all under heaven was in peace and harmony. Shun then, wishing that by bringing vapors of heaven and earth together he might listen and accord with them, appointed Kui as the music master. When Kyrgyz received the commission, he made the 6 pitch pipes and 6 bell notes and the string bridge to 5 tones, in order to set the male and female sounds. Now going on to Chapter 5, The Reign of Yu. When Yu had administered the government for 3 years and did not make leather armor, grind the metal blades of their weapons, or sharpen the points of their arrowheads, the fields were not overgrown, the dwellings were not empty, and the taxes were not levied at the city gates and in the markets. Yu then established regions and walled settlements in accordance with the topography of the mountain ranges and flat marshes, and caused them to be populated and flourish. Then relying on the near to let the distant know, he abolished the harsh administrative measures and enacted sparing ones, full of the desires of the people, and brought the benefits of heaven and earth together. For this reason, people nearby and happy, and those from distant places arrived of their own accord. Everyone from those within the 4 seas to those beyond asked to present tribute. That being so, Yu began to make them emblematic banners, in order to distinguish his left from his right and to keep the people from confusion. The banner of the east took the sun as its emblem, the banner of the west took the moon, the banner of the south took the snake, and the banner of the center took the bear. The banner of the north took the bird. Having accomplished this, Yu began to implement measures of austerity. In clothing, he did not admire beauty. In food, he did not give importance to flavor. In holding court, he did not send out chariots to meet guests. When pounding grain, he did not hold the rice. When holding feasts, he did not cleave bones. For outer clothing, he wore a leather skirt. Yu then set up a drum in the courtyard so that when there was someone with a plaint to be present, the plaintiff could stand there and beat the drum. Yu always came out quickly. In winter, he could never decline because of the cold, and in the summer, he would never decline because of the heat. He personally discussed something that broke off 33 graphs. When he died, his tomb did not muddy the springs below it. He was what we call a sage, in life easily nurtured, in death simply buried. And he eliminated tyranny and evil. That is why he is celebrated. Here's Chapter 6, Zhe and Tang. Zhe did not follow the way of the former kings and acted as himself wanted. It breaks off. At that time, the strong and the weak did not yield and cede to another, and the majority and minority did not resolve their quarrels. The affairs of heaven and earth and the 4 seasons were not attended to. Tang amended the tax registers, which to levy taxes at passes and markets. Thus the people became resentful, and anger at tyranny began to appear. Thereupon the people who were mute, deaf, crippled, befuddled, having goitres, imbecilic, and deformed began to arise. Then Tang, as a presented measure, sought a man of worth. He established Yi Yin as his aide. When Yi Yin had received his commission, he had the weapons put away and prohibited violent acts, and attained the everlasting support of the people. Then Zhe, being deluded without regard to the inaccuracy of his military force, raised an army to attack Minsanshi, and abducted Minshan's 2 daughters, Yang and Wang. He took them north with him, away from their land. He tampered the earth to make Tong Palace, constructed Jasper Hall for it, ornamenting it with Jasper Tower, and erecting Jasper Gate. Such was his arrogance and extravagance. Tang heard about it and cautiously promoted worthies. He was virtuous and kind and not deceptive. For 30 years he forbore. Only after he had done so, it was still impossible for Zhe's behavior to be changed. Did he attack him? He ascended along the wrong corridor, entered the North Pass, and established the central central kingdom. Zhe then fled the Lishan lineage. Tang again followed and attacked him, ascended along the corridor at Mingtao, in order to attack the pass at Gaoshen. Zhe then fled to Nanchao. Tang once again followed and attacked him. Consequently, Zhe fled and went to the open country of Kangwu. And then Tang raised his troops of the 9 provinces and overpowered all within the 4 seas. Thereupon the armed people of the whole world mightily arose. Then he attacked Zhe's lineage and decimated his tribe, and the remnant group submitted. It opens with a broken part. Thieves and robbers, by this means he obtained the allegiance of the masses and became king of all under heaven. Tang's descendants had ruled as kings of all under heaven for 31 generations. when Zhao arose. This is chapter 8, King Zhao and King Wen. Zhao did not recite the way of former kings, but acted as himself wanted. Oh, Zhao, this is King Zhao, the last emperor of the Shang dynasty. Oddly enough, right before the Zhao dynasty. Thereupon he made 90 a tower with a basin of charcoal placed at the bottom. He placed a round wooden log at the top and made people walk on it. Those who could go across did so, those who could not fell and died. As for those who did not obey the command, he fettered them as a consequence. Thereupon he had 3,000 metal fetters made. When the metal fetters had been used up, he went on to make a lake of wine. When he was heavily intoxicated with wine, in the depths of the night, he behaved dissolutely, and did not attend the government of his land. Thus the 9 lands rebelled against him. Feng, Hao, Shao, Shi, Yu, Lu, Li, Chong, and Mi Shu Shi. King Wen heard of it and said, even if the ruler should be without the way, how could a subject presume not to serve him? Even if a father should be without the way, how could his son presume not to serve him? Regardless of who is king, how could it be permissible to rebel? When Zhao heard about this, he let King Wen come down from the Xiao Tower and released him. He asked him, could the rulers of the 9 lands be made to come to my court? King Wen said they could. Thus King Wen, wearing an undyed cloth robe, as though in mourning, tucked up his skirt and travelled to the 9 lands. 7 lands came and submitted. Feng and Hao would not submit. King Wen then raised an army and approached Feng and Hao. With 3 rolls of the drums they advanced, with 3 rolls of the drum they retreated. King Wen said, what I know has many limits, but if one person, i.e. the king, behaves immorally, how are the ordinary people at fault? When the people of Feng and Hao heard of this, they surrendered to the King Wen. King Wen upheld the ancient precedents and instructed the people with regards to seasonal labors. He thoroughly understood the benefits of high and low, fertile and barren terrain. He knew the way of heaven, the benefits of the earth, and he kept the people from being troubled. Formerly, when King Wen assisted Zhao, it was in this manner. Then comes King Wu. King Wen died and King Wu succeeded him. King Wu said, if he were a perfect virtue, I'd be able to use persuasion to replace him. The next best alternative is to attack and replace him. Now Zhao's behavior is without the way. He has disordered and abandoned the people, fettered and restricted the feudal lords. Heaven is going to punish him. I will assist heaven by overawing him. King Wu thereupon prepared 1,000 war chariots, 10,000 armored warriors, on the Shu Wu day. He forded Menjing, and when they reached the region between Gong and Zhan, the 3 armies were arrayed in a great plan. King Wu then set out 500 war chariots and 3,000 armored warriors, and joined the lesser amount of troops of the feudal lords at the open grounds of Mu. Zhao, not understanding that his government had never been successful and that his bad behavior was the gossip of the people, still wanted to raise an army to counter him. King Wu, thereupon wearing an undyed head covering as a mourning, laid his grievances before heaven, saying, Zhao's behavior is without the way. He has disordered and abandoned the people, fettered and restricted the feudal lords, cut off lineages and demanded the people. He treats jade like earth and wine like water. Heaven shall punish him, and I will assist heaven to overawe him. King Wu, wearing armor, display the force on the outskirts of Yin and Yin. It breaks off. That's the end of the text. But what happens is he overpowers the Zhao and raises up as the Zhao dynasty. They have the same. Well, they have similar names. It's just that Zhao has the king Zhao has an accent that I can't read. There's actually a speech from King Wu after he destroyed Zhao or the Shang in the Book of Documents. I just haven't read it. This is the Bao Shun. This is the first of the preface. It was His Majesty's 15th year, and he was feeling indisposed. His Majesty thought about the many days that passed, and reverently transmitted the cherished instructions on the Wuzi day. He rinsed his face with water in ritual ablution. On the Yu Chao day, at dawn, it breaks up a bit, the king so said, I am rapidly getting worse, and I fear I will not survive. To instruct you, Formerly, when the ancestors transmitted the cherished teachings, they always bestowed it by recitation. Now my illness has become extremely serious, and I am afraid I will not be able to intern it at the end. You shall receive it as a written document. Be reverent. Be not be dissolute. Here's part 2. When Shun had attained the center, his speech was not idle, and the reality altered the names. As for his persons, he was circumspect and sincere, reverent and respectful. He did not slacken, so he made the thrice descended virtue appear. Di was pleased with him, so he made him his heir. Oh, be reverent. Formerly Wei temporarily took, that was chapter 2, this is chapter 3, Wei and Tang. Formerly Wei temporarily took over the center from He, in order to take revenge on Yu Yi. Yu Yi repented his crimes. Wei, who was not harmed, then returned to the center to He. As for Wei's ambition to possess the center, he did not neglect it, passing it on to his sons and grandsons. When it came to Cheng Tan, he was reverent, flawless, and not remiss, and received the great mandate. Oh, Fa, be respectful. Chapter 4, Command. I have heard the command that when I have heard that when compassion has not been long-standing, the mandate will not have a source for which to be prolonged. Now if you are circumspect and do not slacken, it shall have that from which to flow. I will not survive. The great mandate is bestowed upon yourself. Be respectful and be not dissolute. Day is insufficient. The evening is inauspicious. And that was the shorter text. There's a smaller wisdom text. And that is effectively all I have in terms of texts. This was a shorter stream, mostly because it's a bit too hot to go on for too long, and it is right before bed and I'm not ready for bed yet. We'll be ending the stream. No one's arrived, so I can just end. Alright. Well, I hope you all had fun. I did too. Tomorrow, what are we doing tomorrow? We're beginning the Godseeker DLC, and I look forward to that. Well, I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. And that's all. Goodbye.